Lightsaber combat, one of the coolest parts of the Star Wars movie. But did you know about all the different types of stances there are? I'm not talking about the ones in Jedi Survivor. These ones are very different. Welcome to Star Wars Uplink. I went down another rabbit hole, and the last time this happened, I was theorizing how Darth Maul used the bathroom after he got robo legs. You can check that out on our shorter clips channel, Star Wars Downlink. This time, I found a whole other level to the depth of Star Wars, not bathroom related. This time, I started digging deep into the lightsaber forms and what their strengths are. There are 7 total, and each has a different use case, strength, weakness, and type of fighter that uses it. This isn't something I even knew about until I started digging deep into the Star Wars lore. I was digging on Wikipedia and stumbled across it, and I was like, wait a second, I didn't even realize this. So yeah, if you're not aware, there are many different levels of types and forms of lightsaber stances. And now we saw a lot of lightsaber stances in Jedi Survivor. You can select double-bladed, you can select like a big old great sword, you can select a double-bladed lightsaber, 2 blades, you can just do the single in a blaster, and each of those in the game has a different skill set, effect, strength, weakness, deflection, all of those things that would make sense at a video game. But just like real sword fighting, there are many different forms that you can use in Star Wars. Now, before we get into the first one, I do want to say something that I also stumbled upon while looking through this is the different respects that there are with the different forms. Some forms are specifically dark side and are frowned upon by the light side, and others are more so frowned upon by the dark side, saying that you don't have the strength really to embrace the anger and the aggressiveness that this particular stance really needs. Another thing that I stumbled upon while going through this rabbit hole was how sometimes there is a level of disgrace that both the dark side and the light side share. There's a specific move where you turn off your lightsaber and then you turn it back on and stab those. That is frowned upon by both the Sith, who think it is cowardly, and the light side, who think it is a disgrace against the code and the honor of this hallowed object, which is the lightsaber. I just find that super fascinating that there are tricks that neither side uses, because one just thinks it's weak and cowardly, and then the other that thinks it's just not fair. But I think it'd be fun to see that, and I would love to see like someone going towards the dark side but doesn't have like the full understanding of the story, like turning on and off their blade and really having some unique fights, because I think that's something we played around with a little bit in like the sequels, but not really anything to a great extent, and I think it'd be pretty fun. But what are these forms? Well, the first one is the Shicho. It's form 1, and it's the oldest and most basic lightsaber form. It's a balanced form that focuses on defense and offense. Get a little bit of both. And it's a good choice for beginners. Most of the people that use this are Padawans, because it teaches the fundamentals of lightsaber combat, but it's not as effective against very skilled opponents. Form 2 is the Makashi. And all of these are very much heavily inspired by Japanese sword art, especially the samurai side of things, hence their name. But Form 2, a dueling form that focuses on lightsaber to lightsaber combat, and it's a very technical form that requires a lot of skill and precision. Think about Count Dooku. He's more of the Makashi form lightsaber user. And in Legends, he was so skilled in lightsaber combat that they actually used his holo recordings to teach Padawans. Like, that's how good of a lightsaber wielder he was. But it's best suited for fighting against other lightsaber wielding opponents. The Soresu, which is form 3, it's a defensive form, and that mostly focuses on deflecting blaster bolts and lightsaber attacks. It's a very difficult form to master, but it's very effective against opponents who rely mostly on brute force, and it's best suited for fighting against Sith Lords and other powerful Force users because it gives you that stronger stance against those more powerful blows. Think of someone like Qui-Gon. Number 4 is the Ataru, and it's an aggressive form that focuses on speed and power. It's a very flashy form, and it can be very effective against opponents who are not expecting it. However, Otaru is also very risky, and it can be easily countered by skilled opponents. Think about Anakin in, honestly, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith era. Like, he's very much on the Otaru, let's get this going, speed and anger and just strength. And you can see most of the time, like especially in Attack of the Clones, where he loses his hand to Count Dooku, that would be why. Number 5 is the Xian or Jimso. Form 5, and it's a hybrid that combines the offensive and defensive aspects of Form 4 and Form 3. It's very versatile, and it can be used against a variety of opponents. Xian is the variant form of 5 that focuses on deflecting blaster bolts, while Jimso is the variant that focuses on lightsaber to lightsaber combat. So this is more of like, let's say this is probably the next step from the Shicho or Form 1, because it's just a lot more focused on balance. Number 6 is the Nieman. It's a balanced form that combines the strengths of the other 5 forms. It's a good choice for Jedi who want to be able to fight against any type of opponent, but Nieman is not as specialized as other forms, and it's not as effective against skilled opponents. For my research and some of the strengths of this particular form, you can think of someone like Obi-Wan, who he's pretty good. He's balance of strength and defensiveness, and mostly gets all of the strength and all that stuff from like the Otaru and the other like more balanced defensive roles. Like, he's definitely more of the all-around fighter and has the skill, but he could struggle against someone like Count Dooku. The Joyu / Vipad, and this is the one that I was talking about earlier. This one is mostly on the dark side of the Force, and it's a very, very powerful form, but it's also quite dangerous. Juyo is the variant of Form 7 that focuses on pure aggression, while Vapad is the variant that focuses on using the dark side of the Force to enhance one's own abilities. So that's what Darth Vader would use, is the Vapad. And that's mostly that's one of the reasons like his striking is so powerful, is because he uses his anger and his hatred and the dark side of the Force to strengthen his blows against opponents. That's why he is so powerful, which makes a lot of sense and explains a lot of things of like, that's why more of the dark side fighters are very effective against the Jedi, because they can pull that side of things and mostly focuses on either pure aggression or using the dark side of the Force to really give them the extra edge against people. But so those are the 7 different types of lightsaber combat in Star Wars. I want to challenge you. Next time you watch one of the Star Wars movies, see if you can pick up the different styles, because it's not just one or the other. You can use a combination of these. Each of these have different attacks and forms, and you can see these in all of the different people in Star Wars as they approach different opponents. Let me know in the comments below if you've picked up on this. I think it's mostly common in the prequel series. Obviously, they really stepped up the lightsaber combat in those, but you can pick up a little bit on it in even the original trilogy. You can see Darth Vader and Luke in Return of the Jedi really pick up on a few of those things and how they're approaching that really deep history around like samurai and the different arts with the swords. But let me know in the comments below. As always, hey, check out our podcast, and may the Force be with you.